Hi, everyone. I know I am late. So I'm just going to jump right into the notes that I have from Martha's Vineyard. So I think that this is, let me make sure. This is, of course, season one, episodes 4. So we start off talking about Nick having his girlfriend. So we're still in the same conversation about how can't believe Nick has a girlfriend because he's been all up in other people's DMs. And so the girls have a mimosa and walk, and the boys are having a workout. And while they're doing the mimosa and walk, they're talking about the fact that Nick has a girlfriend. Jordan's no. Jasmine's like, wait, what? He has a girlfriend. And eventually, so this is the talk of the town. Um, nobody really believes that he has a legit girlfriend. He does admit to the fact that they've been together for a year and a half. And Alex is like, well, I didn't really know it was all that serious. I knew she existed. I would have moved differently if I would have known that she existed. Um, you already know how I feel. He's a Kappa. And this tracks to all the stereotypes. Uh, and Um, and I'm sure that when he goes home, it's gonna be like, well, this is all a show. So I was just doing it just for a show. And you're the one who I'm really with, and so that's how that's gonna go. Or I mean, look, I have been Greek for over 20 years. I have been around Greek men for a very long time. And when I was single, for half of my Greek life, I absolutely knew how this goes. So all of this tracks. And then all of a sudden, they pop up married or they pop up engaged. And you're like, well, wait a second. I thought we were exactly. That's how all of this goes. Or they pop up with the baby mama. And it's like, well, who's the mama? All of this. All of this tracks well with Kappas. So I stereotype, stereotype, stereotype. Um, and because none of these women are Greek, they actually take this dude as face value. Anywho, um, Shanice is going home talking about how upset she was that she didn't hook up with nobody. Shanice, I don't like you, but I do want to give you the benefit out. I do think it's cool that women are much more inclined to understand their sexuality and knowing what they want and perfectly okay with the limits and setting these parameters of what they want. And I think it's awesome. However, I'm in the minority. And I know that people gonna perceive you as being loose and crazy. So, um, da, 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 da. Silas is being ridiculous, and so when um, I don't like Silas either, man. Silas is being ridiculous, and the way that he treats Preston, talking about working out, and then he's like, "I want to hold you accountable. I'm your LB," and I was just like, "Oh, here we go." I will say that with my line sisters, I do tend to be a little bit more like I would probably be a little more like on you, but to the point that like I expect you, like I just don't like it. But I will give Silas a pass for the way that he's talking to Preston because I'm not surprised when you start saying LB, you guys are line brothers. Now I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But I'm not saying that I like it. Put that out there. I appreciate how Nick is coming to Silas and saying, look, you control a man. And he's trying to do it in a nice way. He does it in front of the group and then he does it privately. And then Silas is like, I'm not taking advice from somebody who has a secret girlfriend. Yeah, you may discredit him for that, but he is also telling real truths by saying that you doing too much. And then he also tells when the in group talking about like collectively that they've been friends for a long time. They've been watching out for each other for quite a bit of time. They've so you're not going to be able to come through and just and interrupt. However, as I said last time, that he would have to have a conversation with her. They have to set boundaries on their relationship. I do think my husband would think that it's a problem. And I would not accept a drink from a man that I don't know at a club, just out of respect for my husband. Now, if she doesn't have that same boundary, that's a conversation you need to have instead of having all these interjecting single people's voices in the midst of your relationship. Putting that to the side, Nick is right. Silas, you're doing too much. You're being overbearing, and it has nothing to do necessarily with this drink thing, but it has to do with the entirety of your conversation that you have throughout this whole entire time. I think you do too much. So, moving on. Jordan is so into herself. She's like, I don't know if Alex is talking to me because I was in Playboy. Girl, let me ask. No shade. Is Playboy this significant anymore? And do men read Playboys like that? I'm just wondering. Moving on. I'm not trying to take your shine away, but I'm just saying that I don't think that men hold Playboy in the same level of esteem as they did in the past. I appreciate that Amir is really emotional about talking about family. And honestly, this is one of the reasons why I do think that Black people who are not raised primarily with Black people should join sororities and fraternities because it is a very good way to get in touch with themselves, which get in touch in a brotherhood and a sisterhood that they seem to be missing. Like the part of him is being filled up by being around all of the diversity of Black people. And I feel the same way. I'm going to do a review on this, but I was watching Bama Rush. So problematic. But one of the girls, Michaela, she's Black, Michaela, but her mother, her parents were interracial, and she's trying to join the Bama Rush, and it's like you can see the entire time that this is not a fit for you. And she's like, yeah, I know the Divine Nine, but I don't know if I'll be a fit. Hey, have you ever gone to an informational? Have you ever been around? Like, I think that is a better fit for you because you are struggling to get to know more about and feel more connected to the Black side of your family. And it is so evident. And so I feel this is the side, I feel the same way about Amir, and I appreciate him being very emotional. And they're all hugging and supporting him. More people coming to the house. Man, there are too many people up in this house. I would have anxiety as a grown. I think the last time I did a roommate situation was I think I was 30. No, 29. And it was at regional conference, and I was just like, I'm not doing this again. I'm grown. So the fact that there are more people like this whole house, even though I know it's for TV play, I just could not envision my life this much with a bunch of other random people in the house. Like it would give me mad anxiety. Anyway, I'm gonna need my own bathroom, and I would just like the pool house is my ideal. I'd be in the pool house because I just could not. Like, it's just too many people up in this place, and I just could not. Anyway, Bria and Simon. Okay, so I'm gonna skip them for a second because the entire thing, because Bria and Simon bother me to the fullest of the extent of the fullest. Anywho, they all end up going fishing. Alex, Bria calls Shanice, and Bria tells Shanice that the reason why Alex was not no longer had interest in you is because he got messages from people saying that you spreading it wide and laying it low. Or is it laying it low and spreading it wide? Right. And you're crazy. And the irony is that she wasn't necessarily as bothered about this as I would be. Because she knows she is exactly what they've been saying. But she's like, I can't believe they're having serious conversations on a vacation house. I think that it's a great thing to be serious about where you insert your lower regions into. So I am proud of Alex. Anyway, Jordan having an Omega tattoo and talking about she is in a long because they're having a toga party, and so it's going to be Team Alpha, Team Kappa. And she was like, I don't know what I should do because I come from a long line of Omegas, and she has an Omega tattoo of her father and grandfather. And I was like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. I know it shouldn't bother me, but on the other hand, it kind of does. I don't know why. I mean, I understand why you would do this, but I also don't understand why you would do this. But to each his own. Summer is like we meet Summer and everyone's like, oh, she's like Hillary Banks. I think Summer would have been perfect for Nick. Lyle, I think Summer and Nick would have been the cutest pair. Anyway, but he's with someone. Summer and Alex may be kind of cute. So she's like, well, I'm an alpha phi. What's so funny is that she was like, I was kicked out of my fraternity, out of my sorority. And they're like, huh, kicked out. How? Okay, to my D9 folks, let's talk about what it is. Let me explain a little bit of what I know about the Panhellenic. You can't get kicked out of your sorority because they don't view it as a lifelong membership. Just like there are alumni chapters of their sorority, there are, but you would have to get it's not like a reinitiated, but you'd have to get reaccepted. So it's not like I can like how D9, we could just kind of go to whatever chapter and you go to whatever chapter and you can transfer your paperwork and they accept you and you're good. Like that's not how this works. So when she's like, I was kicked out because I wasn't participating, I wasn't involved or whatever, that it's not a national thing. It is a chapter thing where they can take back your membership from that particular organ, even though it is a national organization, but it's the chapter that can uninvite you or undo your membership. And it doesn't necessarily go to a national headquarters. It goes to the university, and the university takes your name off of being a member of that chapter. You have to think about Panhellenic sororities like clubs. Whereas in the D9, it's like lifelong membership. We got to go vote. We got to do all these things. And it is a chapter can't kick you out of the sorority. It can recommend you, then it goes to the regionals and it goes to the nationals. And then, like it's a thing, it's a process. It's not quick. But for these people, it is quick. You're not coming to nothing. You're not doing nothing. Okay, we're going to tell you're done. Don't come back here. And you're done. So anyway, I just thought it was funny. Okay, so Summer's like, well, I'm Alpha Phi. And they're like, we're talking about Alpha Phi Alpha Protestant. We're talking about Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. And I'm going to tell you this too, Panhellenic folks. The D9 folks, we do look down on your Panhellenic because it is not a lifelong membership. It doesn't feel like you take it as serious as we do. Our sororities and fraternities are in our blood. It is pink and green all day in this house, right? And so even if they're not dues paying people, it is going to always be pink and green in this house. I'm a dues paying person. I belong to a chapter. But my point is, it is not a thing that we just did in college, like how you perceived it. So there's a little bit of an uppityness that we do have towards these other people who think of it as a college thing. Anywho, like somebody in a professional development called me a sorority girl, and I was like, it's not the same thing. They're like, I'm a sorority girl. You're a sorority girl. I was like, we not the same. They're like, oh. I was like, yeah, don't be offended. But we are not the same. It is a lifelong membership. And they like, oh. So yes. So she's like, oh, so this is a sexist thing. I was like, oh, here we go. And I loved how they were able to clean this up real quick. I thought that was really nice. Hugs and everything. Jason comes and he used to be Jasmine's roommate. Silas is like, I don't understand. I want to get to know him because Jasmine loves him. Because he's a heterosexual male who was her roommate. I feel like we're not getting all of Jasmine's story. Like, how many roommates did she have? She ended up homeless with the other girl. When did you become a roommate with him? Did you come? Like, I feel like we have way more answers. I love how Amir and Jordan are pretty much coupled. And let's talk about another aspect okay, I guess we might as well when we get to the Silas thing. Let's talk. They're pretty much coupled, and it is just so cute. Now, Bria and Simon are fighting at first. And versus Jordan and Simon, they're chatting because Jordan was texting Bria, and Bria was all excited about her boyfriend coming. When Bria mentions that he's going to be here for a week, now mind you, this is day 7 out of day 15. So pretty much he's going to be staying for the rest of the entire summer. And Silas has a problem He tells Jordan that he has a problem with this and that he thinks that the entire house should vote for this, because usually when people come to visit, they're only visiting for a couple of days. They're not visiting for a week. And for once, even though I don't like Silas, I agree with him. I think Bria, you tripping and bugging. I think the one person I don't like the most is Bria. She got me with the dog. I don't like how she did the dog. I do think that Silas is right, that she is manipulative for sure. Um, she is the quintessential definition of a Karen. And so Jordan is like, okay, I'll talk to her. So Jordan and Bree talk and about him staying too long. And she is trying to pivot by saying, I think the whole house has to have a conversation. Jordan's like, look, he's coming from Germany. It takes like 13 hours to get here. So for him to come 13 hours to get here and then turn around and do 13 hours after staying for 3 days, that's a bit much. I actually think, personally, I think that he should have a hotel. I wouldn't stay. Like if I was coming for a week, I wouldn't do it. Or if I had my boyfriend or husband doing it, I wouldn't do it. I would have him stay at a hotel nearby. That's just being considerate. But Bria doesn't understand the definition of considerate. So the producer does tell Jasmine that Bria did say that he was staying for a week. And we do have it on film. And she's like, I don't recall her saying that. Okay. So so that conversation didn't go too well. So then Bria and Silas talk. And then so Bria turns this argument into the fact that Silas says that I like to see Black women married, and that his preference is to have Black women marry Black men. And they were saying how it just makes things easier. So Bria takes that as being racist. Hmm. Is that racist? By stating, no, I will say that my if it was, he probably said it as my preference, that I think it's easier for Black men and Black women to marry. But if he's like, this is what I like to see. But here's the thing, even though we can go back on semantics and say if it's racist or not racist or whatever, I don't know. This is not where the conversation is going. Like this is why I feel like Silas is right in being manipulative, that she is manipulative, is because that's not what the conversation is about. Let me tell you what the conversation is about. We don't want your boyfriend to stay here for a week. We don't think that it's fair and equitable that your boyfriend gets to stay here for the entire half of the trip when nobody else's significant other is staying for the entire half. The most people are staying is 3 days. And if you can't respect that, then we would like for you to stay, fine. But what you can do, you can also stay in a hotel down the street. We can help with the arrangements. That's what adults say. Okay? These people are children and inconsiderate, and they like to, and the thing is that Silas got baited into the discussion because he doesn't want to be called a racist, and he doesn't want to be perceived as a racist. But he doesn't want to get baited into this conversation. So instead, he's like, he doesn't want to be perceived that way. So he gets baited into that conversation and saying, staying on topic, your boyfriend can't stay. Because she's like, I feel like this is racist. Ma'am, nobody else is bringing you. And then so he eventually comes back. And so the thing I didn't like, Jasmine comes along and is like, I hear somebody hollering at my man, so I'm going to have this. So then she's interjecting, and I realize that Amir was like, maybe your boyfriend needs you, your husband needs you. But I will say that I don't think that that was necessary. I don't think that coming over and trying to have this conversation with her was necessary. I don't think it was. I don't think it was necessary for Jasmine to come along. I don't think so. But um and then Jasmine, I think, didn't help the conversation. And then she claims that Silas was yelling at her. Silas was not yelling at her. I will say that after this conversation, I would not have had one by myself, because she's the kind of woman that is going to make allegations towards you, which is why you should have got rid of her. And y'all chose Mariah. Y'all chose her side over Mariah. And honestly, because but Mariah wasn't a good fit for this show either. But I don't think that she deserved to leave because she wasn't a good fit. But y'all chose Bria over Mariah. And this is what you get. What you get is this woman who's messy. And here we are. But Silas wants to be understood. And so he goes and talks to Bria once again. And he tells her that, and like he's staying for the entire, he wants to try to reason with her for her to see his point and the house's point. And again, but Bria he's like, look, we've been accommodating with the dog. And then she's like, well, look, the dog can't help me get off. Ma'am, you cannot not have sex in 15 days. But she's like, everybody can hear you having sex. Wait, y'all don't know how to have sex and be quiet? Everybody can hear you have sex. Y'all should have been outside then. Oh my God. Okay. So that threw me for a doozy. I mean, and Silas didn't even budge. And I was just like, wait, hear me? That was my first thing. Anyway, can hear them having sex every other day. And I'm gonna tell you, like, Bravo is putting it all on on the show, like on TV, like that they're doing the do. Like I was like, wow, Bravo. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is Jordan and Amir also kind of, didn't they spend the night together? I couldn't figure out the imaging, but they're getting really close, and I think it's so cute. I think they're so cute together if they decide to get together. Anyway, it ends with another fight, and the fight is taking place with Silas and Bria, and two things are true. Silas is controlling, and Bria is manipulative. And she was packing her stuff to leave, and I'm like, bounce. I don't like Bria. So we'll see how this goes next time.